The popular girl at school got her period and stained her dress. Without a second thought, I swapped clothes with her. But when I went to buy her some pads, the cold, aloof top student who had always ignored me suddenly approached me in the aisle. "Did you find what you need? Give it to me. I'll pay." Even my sharp-tongued childhood friend, the one who loved mocking me more than anyone, looked incredibly gentle and soft in that moment. You look really pretty today." I froze in place. I actually believed my quiet kindness had finally been noticed by the people around me until I turned around to say, "Thank you." The two handsome boys frowned, their expressions instantly hardening as they spoke in unison. "Why is it you?" The first to react was my childhood friend, Ryder. He was leaning lazily against the metal shelves, but the moment he realized who I was, he shoved my shoulder with a careless hand. An arrogant smirk crawled back onto his face. "What the hell? What kind of phase are you going through today, trying to wear a dress like everyone else?" Ryder let out a sharp scoff, letting his eyes wander over me with blatant amusement before laughing out loud. "Are you out of your mind? You look like you're wearing a white potato sack. What kind of trash style is this? It looks hideous. Look, if you seriously don't know how to pick out a dress, just throw on a black garbage bag next time. At least that way." He leaned down slightly, lowering his face to mine. Slowly, mockingly, he whispered, "It might actually hide the ugly." My fingers tightened around the boxes of pads and heating patches in my arms. The plastic packaging crinkled loudly in the quiet aisle. Just then, a soft chuckle floated from above. It was a quiet sound, the kind of polite laugh someone lets out when they hear a stupid joke but want to keep the conversation from dying. But to me, that soft chuckle sounded like a thunderclap. It came from Wood, the boy I had spent the last 3 months desperately trying to get to notice me. I lowered my eyes, biting my lip so hard it hurt. I forced myself not to scream at Ryder, terrified that if I lost my temper like I usually did, any tiny shred of respect Wood had for me would vanish forever. But my silence only made Ryder push harder. "Wow, look at our resident drama queen. What is wrong with you today? You're actually keeping your mouth shut?" He reached out, mockingly tapping his knuckles against my forehead. "Well, you don't have a fever." His eyes drifted downward, landing on the items clutched tightly against my chest. A slow, knowing smile spread across his face. "Oh, I get it. You're on your period. I almost forgot you're actually a girl, though honestly, I always thought girls were supposed to look more like your desk, made to count, as the real deal." I trembled with a mixture of rage and humiliation. Tears blurred my vision, turning the brightly lit store into a smear of colors. The only clear thing left was a pastel pink thermal flask suddenly thrust into my field of vision. I stared at the pale, elegant hand holding the flask. Slowly raising my head, I realized it belonged to Wood, the guy who usually treated me like I was invisible. I was too stunned to move. It took me several seconds of staring before I reached out and took the flask, my voice trembling. "Is this for me?" Wood looked down at me from his height. His eyes lingered on my red, tear-stained eyes for a fraction of a second. His throat bobbed. He looked away, his expression returning to its usual cold indifference. "Give it to Genevieve. Her cycle is coming up, and I know she gets bad cramps." "Inside as I'll give it to her," I interrupted, my heart sinking into my stomach. I clutched the flask and ran toward the registers like a coward trying to escape a battlefield. But as I stood in line to pay, I could still hear Ryder's lazy voice echoing from the back of the store, talking to Wood. "Seriously, didn't she look ridiculous in that dress? You should have seen her when we did track together as kids. She ran like a burly lumberjack." I never thought I'd see the day Paige actually squeezed herself into a skirt. I didn't turn around to see if Wood was looking at me, but I heard his quiet, dismissive reply, "Yeah." I walked back to the classroom with my head down, feeling completely hollow. When I pushed the door open, I didn't announce my arrival with a cheerful shout like I usually did. I didn't call out, "Hey, Genevieve, I got your stuff." I just walked quietly toward my seat. As usual, Genevieve's desk was surrounded by a crowd of popular kids. They were spilled over onto my chair, completely blocking my way. I heard one of the girls ask her, "So, Genevieve, who is it going to be? Would the star student or Ryder the varsity captain?" It was a question Genevieve got asked almost every single day. She always avoided giving a straight answer, but whenever the crowd dispersed, she would hold my hand with a sweet, reassuring smile and whisper, "Don't listen to them, Paige. Wood and I just take prep classes together. We're just friends. If you like him, you should totally go for it." But today, for some reason, my feet glued themselves to the floor. I stayed back, wanting to hear what she really thought. Genevieve offered a bright, dimpled smile, her voice dripping with playful sweetness. Ugh. Why do you guys have to ask such hard questions? Wood is amazing, but Ryder is so sweet too. It's impossible to choose. Someone laughed, nudging her shoulder. Just pick the one who treats you best. One of those handsome boys is going to end up heartbroken anyway. I stood frozen in the shadow of the doorway. I watched Genevieve twirl a lock of her hair around her finger, looking utterly helpless. But they both treat me so well. I mean, look at Ryder. He's so incredibly rude to Paige, and they've literally grown up together, but he's always so gentle and attentive with me. And Wood, Paige has been throwing herself at him for 3 months, and he won't even look her in the eye. But he treats me so differently. She let out a heavy, dramatic sigh, as if carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. There's only one of me, you know? I don't want to make a reckless decision and hurt either of them. So I guess I'll just have to wait and see how they behave. The warning bell for the next class rang right on cue. Genevieve shrugged playfully, telling everyone to get back to their seats. When her eyes finally landed on me standing in the doorway, she pouted with slight irritation. What took you so long to buy some simple pads? The break is almost over, and now I don't even have time to go to the bathroom. I was actually planning to go. Fine, that'll be $20, I said, tossing the plastic bag onto her desk. I kept my eyes fixed forward, my voice completely flat. Venmo me. She didn't notice the coldness in my voice. Assuming I had simply been rejected by Wood again, she offered a few empty, rehearsed words of comfort. I ignored her. When the final bell rang at the end of the day, she tapped my shoulder with the eraser end of her pencil. Paige, I'm going out to dinner with my parents tonight, so I won't have time to finish the history essay. The usual deal. You do mine, and I'll give you a choice. Either I convince Wood to tutor you tomorrow, or I'll give Ryder a piece of my mind, so he behaves himself around you. Genevieve smiled, sliding her notebook onto my desk. Make sure you copy my handwriting carefully. The teacher almost noticed last time. I didn't reach for the notebook. Instead, I stood up, swung my backpack over my shoulder, and looked her in the eye. No. There's too much homework tonight, and I need to study. I have to stay up late to finish my own work. Genevieve snapped upright, her eyes wide with disbelief. Ryder hasn't been bothering you lately, so forget about him. But this is a private tutoring session with Wood we're talking about. Paige, don't tell me you don't like him anymore. The memory of Wood's momentary gentleness in the store flashed through my mind, leaving a dull, aching pain in my chest. But the harsh reality of why he had been gentle woke me up. Yeah, I said quietly. I walked toward the classroom door, speaking loud enough for the remaining students to hear. I don't like Wood anymore, and I don't need Ryder's fake apologies. Just as I reached the hallway, Ryder's sarcastic voice cut through the air. Wow, Paige, look at you talking big. Who gave you permission to act so tough? What's next? Are you going to say you're cutting ties with me? Come on, let's go. My mom made your favorite dinner tonight. Great idea, I interrupted, staring straight at him. Every word was sharp and deliberate. Cutting ties sounds perfect. Without looking at his stunned, turning pale face, I pushed past him and walked away. I didn't look at Wood once. Behind me, I heard Genevieve call out in an irritated tone, Wood, I've called your name 3 times. What are you staring at? On the walk home, I realized it had been a very long time since I had experienced such silence. Usually, my afternoons were spent either trying to find excuses to linger near Wood or dealing with Ryder walking beside me, bickering and arguing all the way to my front door. But today, the air was peaceful. It felt as though the noisy world had shrunk, leaving only me. A thought slowly bloomed in my mind. Is it possible that my value as a person doesn't need to be validated by anyone else? The thought made my steps feel lighter. I stopped to feed a stray kitten near the alley. I helped an elderly lady pick up the oranges that had rolled out of her torn grocery bag after a passing car startled her. I even guided a visually impaired woman to the entrance of the subway station. By the time I finally reached my porch, Ryder was leaning against the railing, waiting for me. Ryder looked at the dirty, white dress I was still wearing. He opened his mouth, clearly wanting to make biting remark, but he forced himself to swallow the words. He cleared his throat, holding out a brown paper bag toward me. I got you those loaded garlic fries you love, the ones from the food truck downtown. The line was insanely long. Eat them before they get cold. The rich, savory scent of garlic and melted cheese drifted into the cool air. Ryder shoved his hands into his pockets, chewing his gum nervously, watching me out of the corner of his eye. I knew this was his way of apologizing. He was offering a bridge. Usually I would take it and everything would go back to normal. But this time I didn't want to. Before I could figure out how to tell him, my phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a call from Genevieve. Her voice was bright and bubbling. Paige, did Ryder apologize to you yet? I remained silent. She let out a dramatic, giggling sigh on the other end. Oh my God, he's so ridiculous. I casually mentioned in our group chat that I was craving those garlic fries, and he literally went and stood in that massive line to buy them. He even brought them to the restaurant, where I was having dinner with my parents. I couldn't exactly take them in front of my parents, so I told him to take them to you instead. Tell me, did he look sorry? If he wasn't nice about it, let me know. I'll stop talking to him until he learns how to behave. I didn't care about her warning. Only one word stuck in my mind. Group chat? I asked, my voice flat. What group chat? Do the three of you have a chat? There was a sudden awkward silence on the other end. Oh, oops, Genevieve muttered, her tone turning defensive. I wasn't supposed to say that, but Paige, don't be mad. Wood was the one who... It's fine, I said quietly and hung up the phone. Before Ryder could speak, before he could offer whatever excuse he was preparing, I snatched the bag of fries from his hands and threw them directly into the trash can next to the porch. Then I slammed the front door shut, locking it with a heavy click. The house fell completely silent. For a long moment, I stood with my back against the door, staring at the brass lock. Then my phone exploded. Ryder, open the door. Ryder, Paige. Ryder, don't be dramatic. A second later, Ryder, I'm sorry. I stared at those two words. In all 18 years I'd known Ryder, I had never once received an apology through text. Another message arrived. Ryder, can we talk? I turned my phone over without replying. The next morning, I arrived at school earlier than usual. For the first time in months, I wasn't looking around for Wood. I wasn't checking whether Genevieve had arrived. I simply walked into the library and started reviewing chemistry. Paige. I looked up. The librarian blinked at me in surprise. You're studying before school? I smiled faintly. I figured I should probably start acting like a student. She laughed. I was beginning to think miracles didn't exist. By lunchtime, everyone knew something was wrong, because I wasn't following Genevieve around. When she walked to the cafeteria, I sat somewhere else. When she needed someone to carry her books, I kept reading. When she waved me over, I pretended not to notice. The whispers spread through the room. Did Paige and Genevieve fight? They're attached at the hip. Did something happen? Genevieve finally marched over herself. She slammed her tray onto my table. What is your problem? I calmly closed my textbook. My problem? Yeah. She crossed her arms. You've been ignoring me all day. I nodded. I know. So, I'm going to keep doing it. Her confident smile cracked. What? I met her eyes. I've been thinking. I've carried your books. I've bought your lunches. I've done your homework. I've stayed up until 2 in the morning writing essays with your handwriting. I've listened while you complained about boys. And yesterday, my voice became quieter. I realized you don't actually see me as your friend. The cafeteria slowly fell silent. Genevieve laughed awkwardly. Paige, don't be ridiculous. I'm serious. I was convenient. That's different. Color slowly drained from her face. Who told you that? No one had to. I stood up. You told me yourself. You just didn't know I was listening. Her expression froze. She remembered. The conversation in the classroom. You misunderstood. Did I? You were joking. Were you? She couldn't answer, because both of us knew she hadn't been joking. I picked up my backpack. Find someone else to write your history essays. Then I walked away. That afternoon, the class group chat suddenly became unusually active. Genevieve, can someone tell Paige she's overreacting? Genevieve, she's upset over nothing. Almost immediately. Classmate A. Wait. Paige writes your essays? Classmate B. What? Classmate C. I thought you always bragged about your grades. The typing indicator appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Genevieve never answered. By the end of school, Ryder was waiting outside the gate. Again. Only this time, Wood was standing beside him. The two boys who almost never stood together looked strangely uncomfortable. Ryder shoved his hands into his hoodie. I'll talk first. Wood frowned. No. I will. You don't even know how to apologize. Oh, and you do. The two of them actually started arguing. I almost laughed. Almost. Then I simply walked past them. Paige. I didn't stop. Footsteps hurried after me. Would caught up first. About yesterday. I kept walking. I shouldn't have laughed. His voice was low. I wasn't laughing at you. I know. I finally answered. You were laughing with him. His footsteps faltered. Because he couldn't deny it. I was wrong. I looked at him for the first time. The boy I'd spent months desperately chasing looked almost nervous. His fingers clenched at his sides. I hurt you. Yes. I'm sorry. I studied his face. 3 months ago. Those words would have made me cry with happiness. Today, they simply sounded late. Thank you. I smiled politely. I accept your apology. Hope flickered in his eyes. But, I continued, accepting an apology doesn't mean everything goes back to how it was. His smile disappeared. I don't want to chase you anymore, Wood. I don't want to wonder whether I'm good enough for someone who only notices me when I'm useful. I deserve better than that. For several long seconds, neither of us spoke. Then I walked away. This time, no one stopped me. The days that followed were unexpectedly peaceful. Without Genevieve asking for favors every afternoon, I suddenly had hours of free time. I used them to catch up on assignments, join the art club I'd always been interested in, and start running again. Running had once been something I loved, until Ryder spent years laughing at the way I moved. The first lap around the track was miserable. By the third day, I remembered why I'd liked it in the first place. The wind didn't care if I looked graceful. It just blew through my hair all the same. Meanwhile, the atmosphere around Genevieve grew increasingly awkward. The history teacher frowned as she handed back the latest essays. Genevieve. Yes, ma'am? This writing style is very different from your previous work. Genevieve's smile stiffened. I just wasn't feeling well. The teacher nodded slowly, unconvinced. A week later, it happened again. Then again. Students began exchanging curious looks. Didn't Genevieve used to write really elegant essays? This one has spelling mistakes. I thought she was top of the class. Rumors quietly began to spread. One afternoon, as I was putting books into my locker, someone called my name. Paige. I turned. It was my history teacher. I've noticed you've improved a lot lately. She smiled warmly. Your recent essays are thoughtful. You've always had a unique writing voice. I blinked. Always. Of course. She looked confused. I've known your writing since freshman year. Then she added casually. That's why Genevieve's latest assignments surprised me. They don't sound anything like the work she's been submitting for years. My heart skipped. The teacher knew. Maybe she had known all along. She simply hadn't had proof. Across the hallway, Genevieve watched the conversation with growing panic. That evening, my phone buzzed. Genevieve, can we talk? I ignored it. Another message arrived.
Please.
Then another.
I'm sorry.
Another. I really need your help. Finally, just one essay. I quietly blocked her number. She wasn't the only one. Ryder had become strangely persistent. Every morning there was a drink on my desk. One day it was hot chocolate. The next day, strawberry milk. Then my favorite peach tea. I never touched them. By lunchtime, someone else usually claimed them. One morning, I arrived earlier than usual. For the first time, I caught Ryder placing the drink on my desk himself. When he saw me, he froze. For a second, neither of us spoke. You don't have to do this, I said. I know. Then why? He rubbed the back of his neck, avoiding my eyes. I don't know. It was probably the most honest answer he'd ever given me. After a long silence, he laughed bitterly. I've been thinking. Dangerous hobby. A tiny smile escaped me before I could stop it. His eyes widened. It was the first time I'd joked with him in weeks. You smiled. So. I forgot what it looked like. The smile disappeared from my face. Ryder. His shoulders straightened. You don't miss my smile. You miss the version of me that forgave everything. His expression slowly fell. Maybe.
No.
I shook my head. You definitely do. He opened his mouth to argue. Nothing came out, because deep down,
he knew I was right.
That Friday, the Student Council announced the nominees for the annual Excellence Scholarship. Only 3 students would be interviewed. When the list was posted on the notice board, a crowd immediately gathered. Someone gasped. Wait, Paige made it.
What?
I thought Genevieve would definitely be on there. Sure enough, my name was listed. Genevieve's wasn't. Standing several feet away, Genevieve stared at the board in disbelief, her face turning paler with every passing second. For the first time since I'd known her, there was no one beside her to reassure her everything would work out. And for the first time since I'd known myself, I realized I didn't feel guilty about that anymore. Genevieve refused to believe it. She marched straight to the administration office. There has to be a mistake. The vice principal looked up from his computer. What mistake? I wasn't shortlisted for the excellence scholarship. He adjusted his glasses. There isn't a mistake. My grades are higher than Paige's. They were. He clicked open a folder. But scholarships aren't decided by grades alone. Your recommendation score dropped. Genevieve frowned. What recommendation score? The one completed by your teachers. She laughed confidently. Every teacher likes me. The vice principal didn't answer. Instead, he slid a thin file across the desk. Inside were comments. Frequently relies on classmates. Excellent presentation, but concerns about academic independence. Needs to demonstrate her own abilities. Her smile slowly disappeared. The final blow came 2 days later. History class. The teacher placed a thick stack of essays on the podium. I'm going to discuss plagiarism today. The room immediately became quiet. I've noticed something interesting. She held up 2 anonymous essays. These were written by 2 different students. The vocabulary, the sentence rhythm, the argument structure. They're almost identical. Genevieve's hands began shaking. The teacher continued calmly. One student suddenly changed writing styles this month. The other suddenly began writing exactly as they always have. She looked around the room. I'll let you draw your own conclusions. 30 pairs of eyes slowly turned toward Genevieve. Someone whispered, "Wait." Another student blinked. "No way." A third quietly muttered, "Paige." Genevieve shot to her feet. "That's ridiculous." The teacher looked at her. "I didn't mention your name." The classroom became deathly silent. Genevieve realized too late. She had exposed herself. Within an hour, the class group chat exploded. So Paige wrote everything? You've been bragging for years. You seriously made your best friend do your homework? Then screenshots started appearing.
1, 2, 10.
Paige had never deleted anything. Every message Genevieve had ever sent. Write my English paper. Don't forget to copy my handwriting. You always finish faster than me anyway. You're such a lifesaver, red heart. The heart emoji made everyone feel sick. Because after every fake compliment, there was another request, another assignment, another favor. For 3 years, Genevieve desperately typed. It was just help. Someone immediately replied, "Help, girl, that's academic fraud." Another message appeared. "And you made Paige buy your pads while you sat gossiping?" Another screenshot. Someone had secretly recorded lunch. Genevieve's own voice. Both writer and would treat me so well. I'll just watch who tries harder. There's only one of me. The recording spread through the grade in less than 20 minutes. By dinner, every class knew. Then came Ryder. He'd been in that private group chat all along. He opened it, for the first time in months, then slowly scrolled upward. Hundreds of messages. Genevieve asking for things. Wood volunteering to help. Him bragging about making Paige cry. Then, one message from Genevieve months earlier. Ryder, Paige likes it when you tease her. She told me she thinks you're funny. Don't worry about going too far. She'll never actually leave you. His face went white. He kept scrolling. Another. Wood, don't feel bad about ignoring Paige. If you're even a little nice to her, she'll misunderstand and cling to you again, lol. Wood stopped breathing. Another. Honestly, Paige's self-esteem is so low she'll always forgive us. The chat went silent. Neither boy typed. Neither defended her. For the first time, they saw every cruel joke gathered in one place. Not scattered over years. Not forgotten. All together. Like evidence. That evening, Ryder knocked on Genevieve's door. She smiled when she opened it. I knew you'd come. Without a word, he held up his phone. I read everything. Her smile froze. You told me Paige liked being humiliated. Silence. You told Wood she was too desperate to deserve basic kindness. Silence. You kept us competing over you while laughing behind our backs. Her lips trembled. I didn't mean. You did. His voice was frighteningly calm. You knew exactly what you were doing. He turned around. Don't contact me again. For the first time, he walked away from her. Wood didn't even bother visiting. He simply left the group chat, blocked her number, blocked every social media account she had. The next morning, Genevieve discovered she'd lost both boys overnight. But that wasn't the worst part. Walking through school, conversations stopped whenever she approached. Students who once fought for a seat beside her quietly gathered around someone else. People simply realized the sweet, helpless girl they admired had spent years manipulating everyone around her while letting another girl carry her burdens. Popularity built on admiration disappeared far faster than it had been earned. And for the first time since freshman year, Genevieve stood in the crowded hallway completely alone, while